Jake, you never responded to the challenge. You publicly stated that I use cocaine. I do not. So I told you, you could randomly cocaine test me for the next 10 years. I believe that you're a cheater, and I believe that you use steroids. So I want to randomly steroid test you.
UFC CEO Dana White loses it and blasts Jake Paul for using steroids in his preparation for the Mike Tyson fight. Dana White completely lost his cool when he lashed out on Jake Paul and didn't even spare his manager. White shared that Jake Paul's manager used to work for him, but now their relationship has turned sour and he runs errands for the YouTuber turned boxer.
And that thing that you came out with today, nobody on earth thinks that you really wrote that. You're too stupid. And for those of you that don't know, if you've ever watched one of his fights and you see when they do the stare down, the guy that's standing in the middle with the warlock nose and the big warlock wart on his face, apparently that's his manager. And that guy used to be an accountant for me. And let's just say this, he no longer works for me, and I think he's a bag.
Moreover, Dana White accused Jake Paul of unacceptable practices in business, and he challenged Paul to start his own business to promote fighters. Dana trolled Jake Paul by saying that he cannot get the pay-per-views, and both Paul and his manager can't treat fighters better than him.
If you two think that you can do it better than we do, we're doing this whole thing wrong, you could treat the fighters better than we do, knock yourself out. Go start your own business. It's easy to do. Go get the Warlock on it. The Warlock can get it started for you. What you and the Warlock should be focused on is your business. You're tanking. You can't sell pay-per-views. You're calling out Jorge Masvidal because he's a pay-per-view superstar. Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor, Mike Tyson. These are all superstars.
On the other hand, Dana White shared that he was not involved in Jake Paul fighting bare-knuckle champion Mike Perry, but shunned Paul for false accusations. Dana commented that Jake's fights are all the same and gimmicky since he continues to fight old, retired people and tries to make a name for himself. White couldn't even bring himself to pay even the smallest attention to Paul's fight with Tommy Fury.
He said all that to the media. Dana told Mike Perry that that's all lies. None of that's true. I didn't tell Mike Perry. I haven't talked to Mike Perry. And I didn't even know Jake Paul was fighting. So he's saying all this. I was in Italy. I didn't even know the guy was fighting. When Jake Paul lost to Fury, I haven't really paid attention to Jake Paul.
I have love for Jake too. I don't know when a fight's happening. I really don't.
All the same. He fights older people that are smaller. It's all the same.
Additionally, White claimed that Jake Paul uses steroids and completely shunned the accusation of using cocaine. He further slammed Jake Paul for not being able to sell a fight and running after fighters that are pay-per-view geniuses.
You can't sell pay-per-view, so you do whatever the you want to do. I'm ready to roll, buddy. I don't use cocaine. Do you use steroids? Let's do this, Jake.
Frank Warren, on the contrary, expressed his concerns for the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul bout. He shared that boxing is not for 60-year-old people, even though he acknowledged Jake Paul as a good promoter.
Made my opinion made. I don't think people that age should be fighting, but as long as he's medically fit and he's found fit to box, that's his choice. And Jake, I've got a lot of respect for him, and Nikita, his business partner. They're very shrewd guys, and the fight's on. Whatever I say is not going to make any difference to that. But boxing's not for 60-year-old guys, that's for sure.
Dana White thinks that Mike Tyson shouldn't be fighting an opponent who is 30 years younger than him. Dana absolutely hates Jake Paul and wishes that Tyson succeeds in knocking out the problem child.
Pretty much everybody in the room and the other room wants to see Jake Paul get knocked out. When this fight happens, Tyson will be 58. Under any circumstances, a almost 60-year-old man shouldn't be fighting at 27. When he actually fought somebody who was a boxer, who was his age, Tommy, and who was his size, he lost. When are you going to stop fighting gimmick fights?
I think he just called Mike Tyson a gimmick.
This guy's 27, he's in his prime. Yeah. Nobody wants to see Mike get beat by this jerk off.
Brendan Schaub did a very unique take on the Mike Tyson fight. He shared all the scenarios in which Tyson could lose, Jake could lose, or there could be a no decision, which would be a horrible business model.
I love Mike Tyson, love Jake. I hope it crushes. But for the life of me, I cannot figure out the upside to this. Let's go through the scenario here. If you're Jake, so you knock him out. Horrible, dude. What the f? You just beat up an old man. You get knocked out. They told you this guy's a joke. You get beat up by a 58-year-old. The third scenario here is it goes to decision. That's a disaster and nobody's coming back. That's a disaster business-wise for Netflix. It's a disaster for Jake Paul. What? Went to decision with 58-year-old Mike Tyson. The only person who wins is not Netflix, not Jake Paul. Mike Tyson wins. He can do no wrong. He gets knocked out. He's 58. Still getting paid. He beats Jake Paul. Yeah, all the old guys are like, yeah, daddy. Goes to decision, Mike Tyson wins. For Netflix, dude, I don't know. Let's say Mike Tyson wins. What are you going to do? What's next? Mike Tyson and then Logan Paul to revenge his brother? And then Mike Tyson, KSI? That's the business model? Okay.
Former UFC fighter Jorge Masvidal didn't reveal any comments for the Jake versus Mike fight and said that there are a lot of unknowns in this fight. Jorge expressed worry for Mike Tyson because of his tremendous age, but refused to share any verdict ahead of their bout.
Man, I don't know, bro. I don't know, man, about that fight. It's just so hard to call it. You know, I don't know Mike's. But he's 60 years old, right? Something like that. Like, damn, that's an old dude, bro. You know, and I'm not trying to rank on Jake because if you're getting the bag for it, you know, what could you do? It's just, I heard it's with 16 ounces, then I heard it's now with, I don't know, there's so many things going on with it. I don't know what to say if it's an exhibition.
Dana White claimed that Jake Paul continues to lie about him, but he couldn't care less about Paul. White commented that Jake lied about signing him if he beat Mike Perry, and he only speaks about Jake Paul when asked.
It's not that I don't hate Jake Paul. Jake Paul's doing his thing. He's out there. He went out and lied and said that I said I would sign Mike Perry if he beat him. I've been trying to assassinate him. You haven't heard me say shit about Jake Paul. And the only time I ever talk about Jake Paul is if I'm asked about him. He just brought him up.
I have a great question.
I wouldn't have brought him up, right? And he went out and lied and said that I said all this shit. And it's the furthest thing from the truth.
Meanwhile, Jake Paul's previous opponent, Tyron Woodley, made some very daring remarks about the Mike Tyson fight on November 15th. Woodley said that the fight was even on both ends, even though Mike Tyson is near 60 years of age. Tyron commented that nobody would have fought Iron Mike back in his prime, given his devastating performance in the ring.
Fight coming up, Jake Paul, you know, and also the Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Who do you think has this one right here? I mean, who do you have your money on?
It's a very even fight, to be honest. And it's even because of the age of Mike Tyson. And it's
okay.
I think it's an even fight because of the age of Mike Tyson. He's completely, obviously, out of his prime. When in his prime, most of his fights were almost attempted murder. So literally, Jake wouldn't have stood a chance. Nobody would even commission or sanction a fight against him and Mike Tyson.
Additionally, Dana White stated that the UFC is very different from what Jake Paul does. Although White didn't care if smaller and older guys from the UFC were fighting Jake Paul in boxing matches, he still thinks that Paul has no chance to enter into the UFC. Furthermore, Dana claimed that Alex Pereira would absolutely murder Jake Paul in a boxing match and wasn't going to allow that to happen anytime soon.
We do in the UFC is the best in the world fight the best. That's what we do, you know. What Jake Paul and those guys do is completely different. And again, the kid's doing his thing. I'm not on him. And listen, if smaller, older guys want to fight him, then they're doing their thing. Who am I to say?
He did say, though, that the guy Chama. Who's Chama?
Alex Pereira. Do you think that would fight?
I know it's dumb, but Pereira would kill him. Pereira would kill Jake Paul.
Pereira.
Who?
Alex
Pereira. Oh, my God, exactly. It'd be murder.
You think
That's
that
what
fight
I
would
told
happen?
Jake yesterday. Murder.
What else I was saying about Dana, too, is like the boxing.
But how's that fight possibly going to happen? That's just not going to happen.
The commission would even let that fight happen.
That's how bad it would be.
Are you talking boxing or UFC?
Boxing.
He'd kick his head to another planet. It would be...
Former boxer Bernard Hopkins shared that he doesn't like that Mike Tyson has to go up against a younger opponent like Jake Paul. Bernard commented that he looks at Mike Tyson as a legend, but Jake Paul is a completely different category of boxing.
I don't like it. Is it because of the... Jay, I look at Mike as like, I look at him different.
Moreover, Tyron Woodley doesn't have any strong opinion on who is going to win between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul because he believes that both fighters can put on a great show given the age bracket of the fans that follow them.
And you know what? I'm glad I don't have to. Like sometimes when I commentate, sometimes when I analyze, I gotta have a strong who I think should win. But I'm going to watch and I'm going to see who's going to win. They're going to go out there and do the work.
Moreover, Lennox Lewis commented that it may be hard to believe that Tyson can throw punches and move around in the ring as well as take punches at that age. Lewis is convinced that Mike Tyson can hold his own in the fight and take over the problem child.
It's a task. You know, it's hard to box at when you're that old, moving around the ring, throwing punches, getting punches thrown at you.
Dana White shared that he doesn't hate Jake Paul but doesn't love him either. White sees Jake Paul as a kid who wants to make money and entertain the fans, so he doesn't see this as anybody's fault.
I feel like every time you talk about him, you're never really that angry. Is it because you see...
Well, I said I don't hate the kid. Then he came out yesterday and said, well, now that you love me. Well, I never said I love you. I said I didn't hate you. No, listen, he's a young kid out there trying to make some money, and I don't fault anybody.
Although Dana White may not like Jake Paul that much, Mike Tyson shared that he was a godsend when Paul came to him for the fight contract. Tyson shared that Jake Paul knows how to market himself well and say things that make the people's blood boil, which is the main reason why a fight can sell so well.
It's by the grace of God this guy Jake Paul came around.
Okay, now you say by the grace of God. Why do you say that?
He made noise. He caused for people to hate him.
He brings it.
Well, that's from hate. There's no bigger finance than hate. Hate sells more than love. For love is more powerful than hate.
MMA fighter Kamaru Usman added to Tyson's debate of hate selling more than love. Kamaru commented that Floyd Mayweather understood exactly why he needs to become a hated boxer, and that would make his fights sell.
I like that.
I think Floyd understood this. He realized, yes, his style might have not been friendly to watch. Of course, everybody, the spectators, they all want to see violence. They all want to see blood, even though they're not willing to risk themselves.
Exactly. This is what I always try to explain to people, especially when I'm talking to the corporate American. What we do, people avoid their whole entire life.
On the contrary, Mike Tyson commented that he and Jake try to make people hate them because this is their life. Mike shared that he has been getting hit in the face and then punching back his entire life, and it has become easy for him to humiliate himself.
At least they try to avoid their whole entire life. What we do it for a living. It means nothing to us to get up in the morning and get punched in the face, get our nose broken and punched back. They avoid it their whole entire life. At least they try to. And they humiliate themselves trying to avoid it. With us, they snap of a finger. Let's do it.
Although Mike Tyson has respect for Jake Paul, he has all the bad intentions going into the fight, and he wants to seriously hurt the problem child. Furthermore, Tyson believes that Jake is a good fighter at his own level, but he hasn't reached the level of the legendary Iron Mike.
Bad intentions.
When you look at Jake Paul, and I don't know as much about Jake Paul as I know about you, everybody's very familiar with the Mike Tyson story. Do you think he's a legitimate boxer?
Well, he can fight, yeah. For boxers his level, yes.
Meaning what? Not your level?
I do not believe so. No, not at all.
Cedric Antonio expressed his fascination with Mike Tyson's decision to face a much younger Jake Paul, stating that this kind of dynamic is the spark boxing needs. He also joked that Tyson may be using a significant amount of marijuana to stay focused during his intense training sessions.
They said, what am I, 54?
He's 59. He'll be 58 or 59 when he go in the ring.
Oh, that's crazy right there. I mean, that's the thing, you know, you don't want to see, you want to see him have a great performance. That's the one thing, you know, and I think that he is, like, you know, focused on it and tightened up. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, and he's training hard.
Oh, yeah.
Because he had been smoking a lot of weed at one time.
Oh, yeah, bro.
And
yeah,
you can't do
weed
that
at 2 times.
Yeah. So, you know, like, so I think, you know, this is going to be an interesting fight, man.
On the opposite end, Jake Paul shared that Dana White is eating all the fighters' money in the UFC, and boxing is way better than MMA. Paul shared that boxers make an average of $30 million, while MMA fighters only make around $600,000, which is unsuitable for people risking their lives in the sport. Meanwhile, Dana White smashed Jake Paul and told him to start his own MMA organization and pay the fighters whatever he wants.
Does Dana White pay his fighters fairly, true or false, and why?
False. They make less than janitors. They're risking their lives in the ring, and they don't have long-term health care. The heavyweight champion of the world in boxing is making $30 million, and the heavyweight champion in the UFC is making $600K. So where's all that extra money going?
If you don't like it, there's a simple solution to this problem. Go start your own MMA organization can pay him whatever you want to pay him. Mind your business.
Why do you think he's not paying fighters fairly?
It's all greed and it's all going to fill Dana White's pockets.
Dana White blasted Jake Paul for accusing him of using cocaine, so White had an interesting challenge in mind. Dana stated that Paul could randomly cocaine test him, and it would turn out negative. However, Dana needed to confirm whether Jake was using steroids, so he would be random tested for that.
Jake, you never responded to the challenge. You publicly stated that I use cocaine. I do not. So I told you, you could randomly cocaine test me for the next 10 years. I believe that you're a cheater, and I believe that you use steroids. So I want to randomly steroid test you.
Meanwhile, Canadian journalist Ariel Helwani couldn't believe that the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight was actually happening. At first, he thought that this is just for show, but as November 15th comes closer, there have been more and more posters, trailers, and countdowns starting in the US. On the other hand, former boxer Oscar De La Hoya shared that Jake Paul is going to be super strong on November 15th since he has jumped to heavyweight. De La Hoya is rooting for Mike Tyson because if he lands one solid shot on Jake, then it's game over for him.
Jake Paul, I guess he gained a lot of muscle lately. He's gonna be strong up there, so just be careful, Tyson. But then again, Mike Tyson landing one punch, he can end it all in one round.
Former boxer Evander Holyfield shared that Jake Paul has never been caught by some good punches. Holyfield thinks that Paul can take on a legend like Mike Tyson if he stays close to him and doesn't let Tyson throw his devastating combinations.
I don't know. It's all depending on how Jake fights. You know. The point of the matter is, do Jake Paul take a good shot? I never seen him get hit by nobody.
Do you think Mike Tyson can end Jake Paul's reign? Will Mike's stamina hold up against Jake Paul's energy? We would love to hear your thoughts. Let us know in the comments section below and subscribe for more content like this.